feel, and believe. Good morning. Hello, Bridget. Good to see you. So yeah, when the Ascent came in this morning, they said it's important you understand that every one of you, without exception, is creating. Every one of you. Every single human being is creating. And you have groups of people in the forms of cities and villages, nations, and of course your global community, of which you have still not really attained much of an understanding of how to live as a global community in the sense of the way your creator intended you to be able to reach to. But each and every nation has its own unique consciousness. Every single nation has its own unique consciousness, just as the individual does. And you are all creating the experiences that you're having in the respective country in which you are existing at this time. Understand that you cannot escape from your responsibility as a creating consciousness. You can't escape. There's no way for you to ever escape the fact that you are born by nature to be a creator. And understanding that each nation has a creative influence, not just upon the nation, but on the world around you. So individually, we have our own authority and creative power to affect and influence time, space, and matter. We all have that. And your family has that. Collectively, your family creates. So you have individual creation. You have the family unit as a creative organism. Then you have the immediate community, which is also a creative organism. Then you have the larger bodies of creation, towns, villages, cities, and ultimately nations. Each tier of collectivism adds to the greater collectivism of the planet. I speak not of the function of socialism. That's a very different type of creature. That is a contrived understanding of humanity. But your function with this instrument that so many of you use, unknowingly using it, you have this function called imagination. It's a function every individual has available to them, but which most individuals are either unaware of or are using it without even aware they are using it. Many of you imagine things in your mind completely oblivious to the effect that you are asserting creative influence over your own life while also influencing the lives of others around you. Imagination is something that you each hold in your consciousness and may exercise willingly or unconsciously. And right now, your planet is going through changes because of the collective use of your imagination. You are collectively using imagination, individually using imagination. And the vast majority of you are not even aware that you are doing so. Very few of you are even aware that you are using this faculty that you were given called imagination. And so the whole of humanity is one great imagination. And you can observe the usage of that faculty by what you are able to watch going on around you. What you are experiencing is a product of your individual and collectivized imagination. The stronger and the clearer the focus of one's imagination, the greater the influence and effect that you have over your experience while you are in this physical dimension. You came into this physical dimension to observe the function of creation through you. You came to learn and understand how to create experience. And that experience can be good or not. But you cannot escape it. None of you can escape the function of your imagination. Whether you use it, misuse it, deny it, or abuse it, you cannot escape the individual or the collective results of your imagination. It is already well established that you are a species that is based in electromagnetic existence. That is already well established. And your imagination pushes the substance of particulate matter, of electricity that influences and changes the functions of time and space and matter before your very eyes. Sometimes very gradually, sometimes very quickly. But not one of you can escape this truth, that you are one great imagination, humanity as a whole. Colors and shades of biology are products of that imagination. The existence of this physical dimension is a product of imagination. The clothes you wear, the hunger you endure, the confusion you experience, the bliss you can have, the wealth and the poverty, all are products of your individual and collectivized use of imagination. And as simple as this might sound, it sounds simple because it is. Imagination. Everything in your world is a product of its use. Your disease, your health, your wealth, your poverty, your joy, your sorrow, everything in your existence is a product of your imagination. Not knowing how to utilize that faculty correctly or being unaware that you can has led to a great deal of suffering and discomfort while you exist in the physical body. And although your intrinsic nature is always and shall always remain unharmed, your experience of your creative process allows you to measure the way in which you use your function of imagination individually and collectively. We said that your planet is going through tremendous changes right now, which are reactions and responses to the functional use of imagination. That everything in existence in this physical dimension is electromagnetic in nature. So too is the function of thought and emotion and action. These are all functions of imagination over which you may choose to have conscious authority or unconscious experience. If your mind is confused, then there will be confusion. If you understand that the faculty of imagination is not only what you see, but what you feel, both of which are amenable to your capacity to change them. You have the ability to alter and change what you see in your mind and think in your mind and therefore feel in your body. As what you think and feel becomes a manifestation of experience. Even what you remember or anticipate, which are about the past and future, because your intrinsic nature is not bound to one point of time and space, but to all simultaneously. And so you may consider the past and you may consider the future, and your consideration of these will result in a very experience that you're having right now, or at any point in time. You are able to move into the future and the past with your imagination. You do so all the time through anticipation, through sorrow, through excitation, through hope, through love. You functionally alter the conditions of time, space, and matter for yourself and for yourselves, individually and collectively, so long as you continue to remain divided in your understanding of what you are, then you will continue to experience what you experience, the way you are experiencing it. The ability you have to alter and change your imaginings, your ability to alter and change your imaginings gives you the freedom to create. While you possess that freedom at all times, it must be exercised, utilized. Even though it is always being exercised and utilized, as we have already said, a great number of you aren't even aware that you are doing so. You think that mourning or crying or suffering or poverty, if you are in such a state of being, that you are influencing and affecting the greater world around you. You electromagnetically change what is happening in this dimension of physicality, of which you are just an observer and a participant. The vast majority of you simply watching what is occurring around you, disconnected from your awareness that you are influencing it. Disconnected from it. Unaware that you are influencing what you are experiencing, that you have a direct and immediate ability to alter and change your existing conditions, whether you're aware of it or not. They will change anyway. You will change anyway. That's the nature of this dimension. If you wish to understand how to overcome your suffering, then you will learn to use your imagination very differently and very consciously. And for those of you that have understood the cyclical nature of creation, recognize what is occurring with your planetary system and the greater galactic system, from which you can insulate yourself if you understand the use of your function of imagination. You can literally create a magnificent oasis in time and space over which the storm of error can pass. Your sciences are able to easily measure the observable effects and changes that are occurring around you and have occurred in your experience, that is your human experience, many times before. You have names for these events, scientifically speaking, names that denote vast changes in the structure and nature of life on this planet, the different species that have come and gone, the countless societies that have risen and fallen back into the dust from whence they came. Your science has great evidence of all these things, assigning the events and circumstances of these changes to something externalized to themselves, fully unaware and unconscious of the fact that your very imaginative faculty precipitates creative function in time, space, and matter. Individually and collectively, you, wherever you are creating the existence you experience subjectively as an individual. And you are all experiencing collectively the experience you experience collectively as a species. Your cities and your towns and your villages, your scientific innovation did not come from nowhere. They came from somewhere. And those places from whence these ideas came manifest and alter the conditions of your experience in this material realm. And it originates with the use of your faculty of imagination, derived from the very nascent experience of desire or need or want. Imagination. Individually and collectively, you are manufacturing your experience, your technologies, your clothing, even your physiological existence is a function of your creative consciousness. As easily as you can influence what another person feels by the way you would address them. Let us say that you were very gentle to someone and you made them feel good, or you're very annoyed with someone and you made them uncomfortable. The energy that you emit into this dimension influences and affects it. That is to say that even on the microcosmic scale of the individual's capacity to influence the events and circumstances around them, it is not limited nor restricted to that. You have a capacity to influence and change planetary conditions, solar conditions, galactic conditions, with the use of the faculty of imagination. Catastrophe is a function of imagination, as is the prosperity of a civilization. Your greatest civilizations, the ones that are beginning to become accessible to you now, and they're ancient technologies of which you have very little understanding, these things were imagined into existence. And the question then that you might want to consider is, why and how did these civilizations also fail? Simply, they did not understand the collectivized nature of imagination. Each nation state has its own sphere of creative influence upon its peoples, that is, individually and collectively. Each of you in your own respective country has an influence over the space and events of that function of time and space. And yet all nations together have an influence over not just the function of the nations, but the very function of the electromagnetic spectrum that you interact with on a planetary basis, that you are also electrically interacting with the planet. And beyond that, your consciousness electromagnetically interacts with what you call your sun and your moon and your planets. Although your awareness of that, for the most part, for many of you, is very minor. And so the influences of destruction and creation are not so pronounced because your lack of awareness prevents you from exerting a deliberate influence over it. But if you want your civilization to continue, you must become very, very conscious that you have this function of creation available to you individually and collectively that allows you to influence things even upon the galactic scale. That you are one with all that is. And you can influence and affect all that is from that awareness of the self, what you are. Many of you have commented on how intelligent design is: the tree, the bird's wing, the fish scales. the order and structure of molecules and elements, because there is an intelligent designer behind it all, and it is you. Through the function of your free will, you assert divine intelligence into creation, or you insert divine destruction into creation, as is evidenced by your existing social conditions, disease and health, war and peace, good and evil are all creative products of your imagination. The very life that you think is yours exclusively, the very nuclear nature of your existence, that you think that your life is only a small portion of what you experience with that physical body. And so you remain localized and trapped and enshrined in only the limited influences that your consciousness can assert over your mind and body. And the vast majority of you are very limited even in that capacity to affect and change your physiology, your psychology, your emotional energy. Many of you believe that you have very little influential authority or power over your life, and yet you contain all the authority and power that is contained within the universe itself, within you. But not knowing how to understand or exercise that understanding, you believe that you are small and insignificant individually. And while some of you do not think such a way, that you believe that you have a much greater sphere of influence in this world, you too will follow the same laws to the degree and extent that your imagination can be set free or restricted. To that degree and extent, you are experiencing your life as it is. But your life is not based on the sole locus of the identity that you've formulated. And there are some of you that are exerting great influence over your nations and the people in it. There are some of you even asserting global influence, being able to affect the time, space, events across the globe with your imaginings, your thinkings, your beliefs, your ideas. And yet still this next leap in consciousness must occur if you wish to alter the destructive effects that have been set in motion by your liberated creative use of imagination over the last 200 years. You've had a great opportunity to freely use your imagination, and freely you have used it for good and not so good. But you can find yourself now going beyond just the mere thought of what you do with this planet or your nation, that the very nature of the quality of the consciousness of all of you together can indeed influence and affect the very nature of the planet, its electromagnetic field, and its interactions with other electromagnetic potentials with which you are all interacting. Can you imagine a world? Can you imagine a world where your function of creation was conscious and deliberate? Can you imagine if all of you knew that you are functionally creating your experiences, and that you can, through an act of your will, change the function of your experience, that each and every one of you is capable of changing the very experience you have right now through the function of imagination? Imagine this. Imagine that your mind is capable of so much more than what you know. Imagine that your planet turns not just as a matter of natural consequence, but because the nature and quality of your consciousness collectively allows that to occur. That this great body you call Earth, the solar system in which it moves, the galaxy through which this solar system travels, the universe through which the galaxy moves, that you are a participant in it, not simply a passive observer or a victim of its machinations, but as conscious and awake entities, you are capable of asserting influence creatively over time and space and matter. You are doing it all of the time, whether you are aware of it or not. Every thought you think, every emotion you indulge in is a creative influence on the very electromagnetic nature of time and space. And you believe that this function of consciousness called death is real. You believe that because the electromagnetic nature of the body changes and it ceases to exist as a physical organism, you seem to think that you cease to exist. Electromagnetic spectrum is called a spectrum for a reason. Your body is but one spectrum of that existence in which you exist and live and move and have your being. There's the electromagnetic influence of thought that goes on in the non-physical dimensions in which you live and move as well. You do not just move in a physical dimension, you move in an invisible dimension as well, from which you can exert great influence over time and space. And that there are very simple functions of your consciousness that can be harnessed to change your experience. If you were to imagine much more good than you imagine much more evil, you would understand exactly what we're speaking about. If you understood the power of your imagination, you would know precisely why we are saying what we are saying, that you can imagine in to your experience that which you would will. And it is, linguistically speaking, the process is that simple. You can imagine great joy, and your body will embody that which you imagine, and so will your world. You can imagine great catastrophe, and your body will manifest that experience. You can imagine great peace, and you will experience that. But many of you vacillate unconsciously from fear to possibility to love, running back and forth from one polarity of the electromagnetic spectrum to the other, from fear to love, which is an electromagnetic spectrum of creation. So as you watch your planetary system changing, understand you are a part of that function of creation. You are not separate from it. You are not separate from the creation all around you. You are not localized and limited only to the sphere of experience upon this planet. You'll know this, of course, once the body ceases to exist, and you will remember precisely who you are. But it's certainly much better if you remember it while you're in the body, because then you can delight in the function of your creative process being deliberately and consciously asserted. That the very function of your consciousness to change thought, to imagine, is the very essence of your capacity to assert influence over creation. Imagination does not require great wealth or great power to begin to use. You can begin to use it right now to imagine a better life for yourself. The mere willingness to begin to consider a possibility better than the one you are experiencing begins to set in motion the most subtle movement of electromagnetic particles The idea that your life can be better than it is, the idea itself sets in motion the movement of subtle electromagnetic particles that begin an organizational process if you sustain and maintain that imagining. That the deeper you get into the imaginings of your joy and your happiness, of your peace, of your prosperity, of your well-being, the deeper you go into these imaginings, the more persistent the flow of subtle electromagnetic energies begin to increase. They begin to increase as you allow your imagination to stay centered on the new consideration for yourself and your capacity to sustain your focus on the idea of physical well-being, of clarity and peace, of prosperity, your capacity to sustain such considerations allows these energetic particles to conglomerate together, to come together, to increase in magnitude and intensity, so that eventually the function of these electromagnetic particles goes from the invisible spectrum to the visible spectrum. Just as the idea of a hand being opened and being closed is an idea going from the invisible spectrum to the visible spectrum. This is not just the mere movement of a hand and digital objects upon it. This is a function of the invisible being made visible, the invisible being made visible. Do not underestimate what you have at your disposal to evaluate your creative process. The distinction between the moving of a hand or shifting the existing conditions of your health or the existing conditions of your well-being or prosperity or mental health follow the exact same principles. That if you sustain and hold an idea sufficiently in your mind, particularly with enthusiasm, you begin to precipitate its manifestation. You become the agent of creation, which you are designed to be. You are an agent of creation. And you get to imagine into your existence. You get to imagine into your existence what you will choose, provided you can sustain and maintain. But the act of this simple movement of a hand opening and closing required the electromagnetic focus provided to you by your parents and those around you that drew your attention to the hands and the fingers, and your attention set forth a flow and stream of electromagnetic energy that began to coordinate and organize the physical structure to carry out your invisible assertion upon it. So that which was invisible became visible. The hand which once did not move took on the electromagnetic intrusion of your consciousness to will the flesh to tell the hand to open and close. So too, the experiences of the greater world around you follow the exact same principles of creation. Learning to govern and operate your imagination consciously and intelligently, your life depends upon it. Your well-being depends upon it while you're in this physical dimension. What you call feeling good or not feeling good depends upon your use of the invisible and how it asserts influence upon the visible. Imagination. Each and every one of you, individually and collectively, are participating in its use. And your sciences are monitoring very specific conditions in time and space that have occurred before, historically. What they have called the Great Reset, or the catastrophic events of human history that have occurred countless times upon this planet, of which but a handful of these instances have been discovered. But in all of those times, there were few exceptions where your human collectivized consciousness united sufficiently enough to insulate yourself from the influence of other electromagnetic influences that come to you from beyond this world. That you are electromagnetic in nature, individually and collectively, as is this planet, as is your solar system, as is your galaxy, as is this universe. And you have a direct and immediate relationship with it when you understand that, and therefore a capacity to influence it. That you can change the electromagnetic movement of what you call your magnetic field of this planet. You can change it. You can affect it. You've been doing so for over 200 years now. You can change it to restructure how it functions so that when the influences from other creative influences of this universe will not have such a detrimental effect on you. The minor cyclical events that this planet has experienced, the ones that you know from shorter time frames, were less influential because the consciousness was more favorable to allowing it to be less influential. But your anger and your fear and your want and your lower vibrational energies organize and coordinate electromagnetic energy into experiences. And so you are coordinating your experience of this dimension, all of you. The function of love has a very specific way in which it influences and affects your experience of matter. Your function of other vibrational states, such as anger or fear, precipitate a different creative experience for you individually and collectively. But you cannot deny, once you have the knowledge and understanding that you are a creating being living in a physical dimension, that you have manifested. When you come to the understanding, being able to accept that reality, that you are a creative by nature, you influence time, space, and matter according to your imagination, according to your will, so it is. And when enough of you come to this understanding, well, then there will be a very different effect. Do not deny that you can influence even the cosmos itself with your consciousness. You are doing it and participating in it, just like many other countless civilizations scattered across the creation of creation. This universe is but one of many. And yet you are all in an interconnected link from which you can influence each other in this dimension and in others. The stability of this planet can be changed very quickly if you understand what I'm saying, that your imaginings are not just phantasms in your mind, but actual mechanisms for coordinating experiential manifestations. And that too few of you right now understand this sufficient enough to change the current conditions that are unfolding electromagnetically upon your planet and the greater planets of your solar system. And yet it takes a small number of you to understand this thoroughly enough that you can say, we love this place. We are delighted to be here. It is a wonderful experience of creation. That a sufficient number of you can come to this awareness that you can indeed electromagnetically become invisible to the surrounding galactic community and its influence. Your science is measuring this movement of energy called a galactic current sheath, movement of electromagnetic energy that has very specific effects and influences on the physical dimension, but which are able to be altered and affected by a higher dimension of consciousness. That is to say, on the electromagnetic spectrum, higher frequencies can affect lower frequencies. Just as your mind can affect and influence the matter of your body, just as you can influence this substance you call your flesh to function and be according to what you would imagine, it is not restricted to only the sphere of your body. You can indeed make this planet invisible to the influential energy that has precipitated many different changes historically. Just as you have developed technologies upon this planet where you can make an individual actually appear to not be visible to you, what you call your stealth technologies, where you can appear to be invisible to certain spectrums of the electromagnetic spectrum. So too you can make your Earth invisible to that influence as well, the greater influence that has caused your greatest civilizations to falter, because again, they did not understand the function of imagination, got caught up rather in the fascination with tinkering around with physical things, not understanding that there's a greater spectrum of influence that you all assert in your existence. Imagination, you have one. It is your faculty, your primary faculty of creation. It influences your health and your environment. Individually, it has a sphere of influence. Collectively, it has another sphere of influence. Your capacity to unite as a species in the function of creative energy that we would call love will yield very different results for you individually and collectively than the function of your divisiveness, which is still a function of creation and imagination. The existing conditions that you are going through in this physical world, individually and collectively, are all effects of your creative consciousness. And whatever you will imagine shall come to pass, as it has already. Remember this. Wow, imagination. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, for those of you that aren't aware of this, let me just bring this up. So I'm going to read this to you. So for those of you, you only got 3 days left to sign up for Masterclass 102 Liberation. The course will include spontaneous healing, staying in the present moment. There's 3 portions to the course over 3 weeks. And those 3 things are learning to be in the present moment, how to let go of old, dense emotions from your mind and body, and how to move into the practice of creation. What actually is the practice of creation? So you're going to learn about those types of things: healing, letting go of old emotions, being able to envision a better future for yourself. You're also going to learn how to create a new life print, how to live your life in love and joy, how to let go of anger, fear, guilt, and shame, how to let them go completely from your mind. It's not that complex. It's a very simple process. I encourage you to go to my website, WilliamMichaelForbes.com, and sign up today. You've only got 3 days left to sign up. For those of you that have already signed up, I look forward to seeing you at the orientation on Saturday. Yes. I'm just going to scroll up here, see if I missed. Hi, glad you joined. Thank you so much. Hi there. 50%. Oh, there we go. I'm starting to try and accept you all as my children. Oh, that's interesting. Just seeing what we've got here. So yeah, I'll take some questions or considerations before. Good morning, Daniela. Hi. Hello, Animo. Hello, Daniela. Blessings to you too. Question from Drusilla. Is there a message from Shaga? I think I felt his energy. It's funny. Dancing. Go dancing. Go dancing, dance, dance, dance. Don't be so idle. You got to stop being so idle. You need to become more active. Movement is life. Yeah, I'm glad you're there, Amanda. Looking forward to seeing you. Hello, Jasmine. Good to see you too, darling. Hi. Oh, Casey, thank you very much. Good morning. Can we get an exercise for abundance? Absolutely. Be happy to channel that for you. An exercise for abundance. Can we get something like that right now? Yes. So I'm being told two things. The energy of joy and the energy of freedom. You can, if you wish, hold in your mind's eye, if you're looking for the financial abundance that we think you're asking about, then hold in your mind's eye that abundance in your hands and feel the joy that is natural to feel in your freedom of abundance. To sit in the joy of it now, not to expect it later, but to be now in the joy of your abundance, to be in it now, to remain in it, irrespective of what is occurring around you. Stay in the energy, the connection to the object of which you would like to be abundant with, and the vibrational energy of joy. Remember, imagination is coordinating and organizing all of your experiences, all of them. When you cannot hold in your mind a clear visualization of what you want, then a clear feeling of what you want. The feeling you would be feeling if you had your abundance, to be in the feeling if you had your abundance now. Be in the feeling of your abundance right now. Remain in that feeling for as often as you can throughout the day. You may choose to connect your attention to the feeling and what is represented by that feeling, whether it is money or friendship or love, but to hold on to the feeling within you and the idea of what is connected to that feeling in the world, to sustain and hold on to that. To sustain and hold on to that. And you need to be doing that for at least half an hour every day, and half an hour of your time every day. And then be prepared to do the things that will show up to bring you to that which you've manifested, or bring that which you've manifested to you. Have your eyes open and be ready for the emotions that you hold in your consciousness. The invisible emotions you hold become your visible experiences. The invisible emotions you hold become your visible experiences. Wow, that's really cool, Casey. Thank you. Thank you, Drusilla. I appreciate that super chat. Question from Bridget. What is one thing I can change that will help towards my creating process? I think that was just answered, Bridget. Being able to sustain yourself in a quality of emotion that represents what you want your experience to be. For all of you, the same principle is true. If you're in a state of joy, even if it's internal, and you sustain and hold on to that, it begins to assert an influence and effect over time and space. As long as you can sustain and maintain that energy, like what they just told Casey, spend at least half an hour a day in that joy. Stay in it, breathe in it, live in it, move in it, because you want to sustain the flow of your attention into organizing the electromagnetic energy into the experience. Because remember, everything in this dimension is electromagnetic. Everything, without exception, is electromagnetic. So your thought is electromagnetic energy. Thought begins to organize molecules. When thought goes from thought to feeling, now once it starts to become a feeling, it's becoming physical matter where you feel it in your body, the joy and happiness. Now you're bringing it into the physical dimension, right? Half an hour a day at least. Do more if you can. It would certainly be a different world. By all means, hi there. We've got a quiet group today. Smiling from ear to ear. That's good to hear that. Imagination is manifestation. Yes. Exercise for courage and strength and empowerment. So if you want to exercise for strength, encouragement, and empowerment, then again, holding the ideas always starts, imagination starts off with the idea. And once you pair the idea with a feeling or an emotion, you then move it from being invisible thought to energetic matter. Once you start to make it a feeling and you start to feel it, it's becoming electromagnetic material, right? The baby's body didn't form all at once. The joy of the mother, the energy of the mother precipitated a lot of that, what was going on in the body. But you need to hold the emotional energy long enough and sustain it consistently so that you keep feeding it. Be in the thought and the feeling. How would you feel if you had what you want? What would it feel like if you had what you wanted right now? Well, if you had the money you wanted, if you had the relationship you wanted, you had the home you wanted, you'd feel a certain way. So if you go into the feeling begins to coordinate and organize matter. The challenge then is sustaining and holding on to that feeling consistently until it manifests. It's like when you get really excited or somebody playing your favorite song and you suddenly want to start moving to the song, it's because the feeling you have inside about that song coordinates the body into action. So the feeling of wealth will coordinate your body into a form of action. The feeling of being in the most beautiful relationship and sustaining it will coordinate a function of action in the material world. So emotion organizes matter. As my guardian angel John always tells me, William, emotion is the fifth state of energy, and it coordinates and orchestrates all experiences of time, space, and matter. I really like that idea. That's pretty cool. Well, guys, it's been a great morning. I'm so glad to have you all here today. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and come by on Friday. Remember, you got 3 more days left to register for Masterclass 102 Liberation. Sign up now. Much love, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Have yourselves. Oh, Casey, any physical exercise recommendations for me? Yeah, go through every joint. Go through every joint in your body and move every joint. Like, make sure every part of your body is moved every which way it can be moved, right? You want to make certain every part of the body moves every day at least once. Every muscle, every nerve, every cell, every organ, every gland needs movement. So make certain that you do that every day, Casey. You know, your jaw, your nose, your face, your eyes, your ears, your scalp, you know, the neck. Move every single part of your body every day, at least once a day, so that it's not being ignored. Things that are ignored die. Things that are ignored die sooner than things that are not ignored, right? So give attention to every part of the body every day. I spend about 35 minutes in the morning moving every part of my body from the top of the head down to the soles of the feet. Even the toes wiggle, spread them out, move them around. Move every part of your body at least once a day. You can move the organs inside your body. You move the organs inside your body by the way you move the chest cavity, the stomach. You can move every organ differently. It's not just sitting around doing what it's doing all the time. You're giving it attention. That's even the brain can be given attention. When you tilt your head, you're moving cerebral spinal fluid around, right? And you're giving attention to that part of the physiology inside. And attention allows things to be affected and influenced. Someone wants to know why their body, I'm sorry. Thanks for that super chat, Daniela. Ivana from Italy would like to know why water is stored in her body excessively. She's not consuming the right salts. The first thing they're telling me. She's not putting the right salts in her body. Tell her to get a hold of some Celtic sea salt. Celtic sea salt. and tell her to put a pinch of Celtic sea salt in her drinking water every time she goes to drink, right? Do that. Oh, you're very welcome. Message as to why my plantar fascia is not going away. I think I'm gonna have to make some days for questions and answers only. But again, watch the things you think in your mind. I'm being told that you have a phrase or a statement that you use that you can't stand certain things. That there's certain things you just can't stand. You've got this phrase that goes on in your mind. I can't stand this. I can't stand that. You've got that phrase going on in your mind, and that's how your body's replaying that. Because what your thoughts are affects your body. And you've got thoughts going on in your mind like that I can't stand this. You're not moving forward in certain directions you were supposed to. So yeah, you want to really get into a state of love and grace. Maybe we'll do a healing event here really soon. Let's see. I think that's it. Hello, Lauren. So I want to wish you all well. Have a great day. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the Friday edition of Shortcut to Your Soul. And until then, enjoy yourselves, everybody. Bye for now.